Welcome to Tales by Darshu. In today's episode, we will explore the story of the Matsya Avatar, the very first incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Let's begin. In the ancient times, when the universe was still young, there lived a fierce asura, a demon named Hayagriva. Hayagriva was born in a powerful asura clan, and from the very beginning he was filled with ambition. He was not satisfied with ordinary strength or wealth. He wanted something greater, something that even the gods depended upon, knowledge. But he knew that without blessings, he could never overpower the Devas, the celestial beings. So, he decided to perform severe penance, tapasya, to please the great creator god, Lord Brahma. For years, Hayagriva stood in deep meditation. He gave up food, water, sleep. He tortured his body and focused his mind only on Brahma. His penance was so intense that even the gods began to feel its heat. The flames of his austerity shook the heavens. Finally, Brahma appeared before him, pleased with his devotion. Brahma said, Hayagriva, your tapasya has moved me. Ask for a boon. Whatever you desire shall be granted. Hayagriva bowed and said, O Lord, give me the boon that no one, not even the Devas, can kill me. Let me be powerful, and let me be the one who controls knowledge itself. Brahma thought for a moment. He knew the danger of granting such power, but once a boon was promised, it could not be taken back. So Brahma replied, So be it. You shall have great strength, and no god or asura shall defeat you. But beware, your arrogance may one day be your downfall. Hayagriva was overjoyed. With his boon, he became fearless. But soon, greed grew in his heart. He remembered Brahma's words that knowledge ruled over everything, and he thought, if I control the Vedas, I will control creation itself. Even the gods will be powerless without them. And so, Hayagriva set his eyes on the most sacred treasure of all, the Vedas, the divine scriptures containing the secrets of life, the laws of the cosmos, and the rituals that maintained the balance of the world. When the cycle of creation reached its end and Pralay, the great flood, began to approach, Hayagriva seized his chance. He crept into Brahma's domain while the Creator rested and stole the Vedas. He carried them deep into the cosmic ocean and hid them in the darkness of its depths, guarded by his own terrible power. Without the Vedas, the Devas were lost, sacrifices stopped, order broke down, and chaos began to spread. Even the Brahma himself was helpless, for his knowledge had been stolen. The universe trembled in fear. But Vishnu, the preserver who watches over all worlds, knew what had to be done. He decided that to restore balance he must descend to earth, not in a grand or mighty form, but in a most unusual one, the form of a fish. Far away from the celestial realms, on earth lived a wise and noble king, Manu. Manu was not just any ruler, he was a just and compassionate king, known for his fairness and deep devotion to Dharma, the righteous path. He was often described as the very first man, the father of mankind, who laid the foundation for future generations. One morning, as Manu prepared his daily prayers on the river bank, he bent down to cup some water in his hands. Just as he lifted the water to pour it as an offering to the gods, something wriggled inside his palms. To his surprise, he saw a tiny little fish. The fish looked up at him and spoke in a gentle voice. O noble king, do not throw me back into the river. I am small and weak, and in this great river, bigger fish will swallow me. Protect me, and I will one day protect you. Manu was astonished. A talking fish. That was no ordinary creature. His heart, filled with kindness, was moved by the plea. Smiling softly, Manu replied, Very well, little one, I will take care of you. He carried the fish home and placed it in a small pot of water. But overnight, something strange happened. The tiny fish grew, not just a little, but to the size of the pot itself. When Manu woke the next morning, he found the fish cramped and struggling. O king, said the fish, this pot is too small for me now. Give me a bigger place to live. Amazed, Manu transferred the fish into a large jar, but within a day the fish outgrew the jar as well. He moved it again, this time to a pond in his palace gardens. But soon, the fish grew so vast that the pond too became too small. By now, Manu realized this was no ordinary fish. Something divine was unfolding before his eyes. Who are you, truly? Manu asked with folded hands. The fish smiled and replied, I am Vishnu, the preserver of the universe. I have taken the form of a fish to save you and the living beings of this world from a great flood that is to come. Build a huge boat, Manu. Fill it with seeds of every plant, with animals, birds, and the sages who preserve wisdom. When the flood comes, I will appear to guide you. Manu bowed deeply, overwhelmed with gratitude and devotion. He understood the weight of the task before him to safeguard creation itself. From that day, Manu worked tirelessly. He instructed his people to gather seeds, fruits, herbs, and grains. He invited wise rishis, sages, to join him. He collected pairs of animals and birds so that no species would perish. And then he ordered a massive boat to be built, a boat strong enough to survive the cosmic storm that was coming. But in his heart, Manu wondered, when will this flood come? What danger it is that even gods fear. Time moved forward. King Manu had completed his great task. A massive boat now stood ready on the river bank, strong, wide, and built with sacred wood. Inside it, pairs of animals and birds waited, restless but safe. The sages sat quietly, chanting mantras, carrying the wisdom of ages within their hearts. Jars of seeds, fruits, and herbs were stacked carefully, ready to bring life back to earth when the time came. Manu stood at the edge of the river, looking up at the sky. He could feel it. Something in the air had changed. The wind was heavier, the clouds darker. Even the birds flew in restless circles as if they sensed an approaching storm. And then it began. At first, a drizzle, gentle drops of rain falling into the river. But within moments, the drizzle turned into a downpour. Thunder cracked across the heavens and lightning tore through the black clouds. The skies roared, the earth trembled, and from every direction, water began to rise. The rivers overflowed their banks, the seas swelled and roared. Mountains disappeared beneath the waves. Trees, forests, villages were swallowed in an instant. Manu looked around. The earth he had ruled, the land he had walked upon, was vanishing beneath the furious waters. This was Pralay, the great deluge that ends an age. He gathered everyone quickly into the boat. The sages entered with their scrolls. The animals cried out in fear, but Manu calmed them. He took the steering oar and with a prayer to Vishnu, he launched the great vessel into the rising waters. The boat rocked violently, tossed by monstrous waves. The sky was a storm of endless darkness. The cries of the creatures mixed with the howling winds. Manu's heart pounded. The boat could not survive this alone. And then, from the depths of the ocean, a light appeared. It grew brighter, larger. Even the waters parted with its brilliance. And there, rising from the waves, was Vishnu himself, in the form of a colossal fish. The Matsya was no ordinary fish. Its scale glittered like molten gold. Its eyes shone with infinite compassion. On its mighty horn gleamed a divine radiance that pierced through the darkness of the storm. Manu and sages bowed low from the boat, tears of devotion in their eyes. The fish spoke in a voice that echoed like thunder and yet soothed like gentle rain. O Manu, tie your boat to my horn with the serpent Vasuki as your rope. Do not fear, I shall carry you across the flood. All living beings within this boat will be safe. When the waters recede, you will begin the new age of mankind. Manu, with trembling hands but steady faith, did as instructed. The great serpent Vasuki appeared, slithering through the storm, and with divine strength bound the boat firmly to the horn of Matsya, and so began the journey. Guided by the Matsya, the boat sailed upon endless waters. There was no land, no sky, no horizon, only waves that stretched beyond sight, and above them the giant golden fish pulling the vessel forward. Days turned into nights, nights back into days. But in the flood there was no difference. The sun was hidden, the moon swallowed, the stars drowned in the storm clouds. Time itself seemed to stand still. Yet within the boat life continued. The sages recited the Vedas they remembered. their chants rising like lamps in the darkness. The animals huddled together, comforted by Manu's gentle words. The seeds were kept safe, dry, and protected, like the promise of a future world yet to bloom. Sometimes monstrous sea creatures rose from the depths, roaring in hunger, their eyes glowing red. But as they approached, the mighty Matsya thrashed its tail, sending waves that hurled the beast back into the abyss. No harm came near Manu's vessel. Yet deep below, the demon Hayagriva, who had stolen the Vedas, stirred. From his underwater lair, he sensed Vishnu's presence. His grit for power was great, and he would not surrender the scriptures easily. Rising through the black waters, Hayagriva roared, clutching the stolen Vedas in his hands. His form was terrifying, half man, half horse, with flaming eyes and a voice like a storm. You cannot take this, Vishnu, he bellowed. With the Vedas, I rule knowledge. With knowledge, I rule creation. But Vishnu, in the form of Matsya, charged through the waters. A great battle began, waves clashing, lightning splitting the skies as divine fish and the demon collided in the heart of the ocean. The fight was fierce. Hayagriva stuck with weapons of illusion, summoning whirlpools and monstrous forms. But Matsya's strength was beyond measure. With a final swing of his golden tail and the radiance of his horn, Vishnu struck down the demon. Hayagriva fell, his body sinking into the endless dark, while the sacred Vedas floated free, glowing with divine light. Vishnu retrieved them and restored them to the sages aboard the vessel. The chants of the Vedas once again filled the floodwaters, bringing calm to the storm. At last, after long ages of sailing, the waters began to settle. The thunder quieted, the clouds parted, the first rays of the sun touched the endless sea. Slowly, peaks of mountains emerged above the waterline. The earth was returning. The Matsya guided the boat safely to the slopes of the Himalayas. There, the waters drained and the fertile land appeared once more. Manu and the sages stepped out, carrying the seeds of life. The animals ran free, birds filled the skies, and plants began to sprout. A new cycle of creation had begun. Manu bowed low to Matsya, who now shone with the brilliance of Vishnu himself. O Lord, you have saved us all. What would have perished has been reborn through your grace. Vishnu smiled and said, O noble Manu, you are the father of mankind. Protect this world with wisdom and dharma. Whenever chaos threatens creation, I shall return in new forms to preserve balance. With these words, Matsya dissolved into divine light, leaving Manu to begin a new age of humanity. Manu accepted this task with devotion, but he wondered, how would humankind continue? Who would carry forward his lineage? The answer came soon. On a bright day, as Manu performed penance on the riverbank, a woman rose from the waters. She was radiant, glowing with divine beauty, her eyes like lotus petals. Her name was Satrupa, created by Brahma himself to be the consort of Manu. Together, Manu and Satrupa became the parents of humanity. From them were born children who spread across the earth, creating the new generations of mankind. Thus, Manu was remembered as the first king and lawgiver of the new age. To ensure order in this reborn world, Manu laid down rules. He divided duties among people, sages to preserve wisdom, warriors to protect, farmers to feed, and traders to exchange goods. He taught respect for nature, trees, rivers, mountains, and animals, for they had all survived the flood by divine will. Every ritual, every offering of food into the fire, every prayer to the gods, Manu instructed carefully so that the bond between man, nature, and divinity remained unbroken. These teachings later became known as the Manu Smriti, the laws of Manu guiding mankind in the new age. As years passed, the earth flourished again, forests spread wide, rivers flowed with abundance, birds filled the skies, the animals multiplied, the seeds of life saved in the boat grew into lush gardens and fields. Mankind too spread across the land living under Manu's rule. The sages preserved the restored Vedas, ensuring knowledge would never again be lost to demons. The story of the flood was told from father to son, from teacher to disciple. It became the first great tale of survival, of destruction and renewal. of the god who saved creation in the form of a fish. Before vanishing into the cosmic waters, Matsya had given a final promise to Manu. O noble king, whenever darkness rises and evil threatens to consume the world, I shall return in new forms. Again and again, I will descend to restore balance and protect Dharma. This is my vow for the sake of creation. That promise would later unfold as the stories of other avatars Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vaman, Parshuram, Ram, Krishna, and beyond. But it all had begun here with the first incarnation, the Matsya Avatar, the savior of Manu, the preserver of life. Thank you for listening to this story on Tales by Darshu. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more tales from our mythology, do subscribe to the channel and stay connected for the next story. Until then, take care and keep the wisdom of these legends alive.